Sonic Adventure was a title for the Sega Dreamcast that followed the Hedgehog's horrendous 32-bit life. Due to this absence of appearances, it was the first properly 3D Sonic platform game. People by this point were hoping for a return to the awesomeness they had found within the conjoined cartridges of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. The Saturn had failed to deliver anything more than a version of Sonic 3D with better textures and new special stages, and Extreme had found itself cancelled quite late in development, much to the dismay of fans. Expectations were obviously high for Sonic Adventure. Following the death of the Dreamcast, Sonic went freelance and wound up becoming a major player in the launch lineup of the GameCube, ironically, with a vaguely remixed edition of Sonic Adventure 2, subtitled Battle. It was only a matter of time before Sega pulled a reversal and brought this forgotten gem out. Should it have stayed in the security drawer though? The game is separated into digestible chunks that represent each character's story mode. You need to complete all of them, but it's left up to you to decide how to tackle them. Firstly though, you'll need to encounter the other characters to unlock their path through the game. Due to this intersecting of pathways, you'll often find yourself watching a scene from another character's perspective, which blurs the lines slightly. For example, when E102 and Sonic go head to head, the villainous party is the character that you aren't. Robotnik, or Eggman, as he attempts to push in this title to shed his former American identity, is after the Chaos Emeralds again. This time he's trying to feed them to Chaos, a creature seemingly constructed almost entirely out of water that was until recently sealed within the Master Emerald. Eggman hopes to level an entire city in order to construct his Eggmanland utopia. Standard stuff then. Sonic and his pals find themselves in Station Square, a city populated entirely by blocky, poorly textured people with nothing remotely interesting to say. There's a hotel, a diner, and a train station. That's all you really need to know. It isn't really important though, because it's all going to get destroyed soon anyways. Have fun while you can. This forms the game's first hub area that has several levels branching off from it. The Mystic Ruins provides a second hub a little later in, and has even more levels branching from it. These are called adventure fields, and they provide you with simplistic puzzles or key-finding missions that break up the action stages somewhat. Many of the bosses can be found out in the adventure fields too, as opposed to actually within the levels. You can move between them freely, unless the plot dictates that there are no trains running between Station Square and the Mystic Ruins at that point. Each hub also has many secrets to hide for most of the characters. Upgrades for each character exist, usually hidden in the adventure fields. Whether it's the light speed dash upgrade for Sonic or the continuous tail attack for Tails, they're very useful and sometimes required for progress. As a player, it's your job to hunt these down. There are 6 basic characters and an unlockable special one for beating every other character's story. Super Sonic, a favourite from the Mega Drive era, condensed into a single level for the first time here to a rocking Crush 40 track. A trend that would annoy Sonic fans for the next decade, though probably not as much as the slow decline of the Hedgehog's video games in the same period. Shadow the Hedgehog, anyone? No? Well, you know what they say, the more the merrier. You know what? Fuck it. I'll find the computer room myself. Sonic plays exactly how you'd expect. He's fast, basically. That's it. In fact, he's so fast that the camera struggles to keep up with him. In order to compensate for the new 3D environments and keep Sonic's speed constant, he's also developed a homing attack when jump is double tapped. This is an excellent move for crossing deadly gaps via enemy skulls, or as a last-ditch recovery move when you slip from a level. Ryan Drummond is the voice of Sonic here, sadly giving his worst performance overall in what I can only assume to be in response to the physical acting, which is super fucking awful. Now, I'm an advocate for Drummond. I don't think 4Kids should have taken over at all, but come on. Some of this shit is ridiculously bad. You wouldn't even expect this kind of thing from Uwe Ball. And he thought Postal made a good script. I wouldn't mind if it was just issues with lip syncing, but why make the character's entire body react violently to each syllable? Keep your faces closed before you swallow a low-flying aircraft. Morons. Playing Tails is basically playing Sonic's game through again, only with the additional threat of having to prove himself and beat the blue hedgehog to the destination of each zone. To this end, you'll spend most of your time flying around looking for shortcuts. Surely though, according to canon, Tails couldn't physically beat Sonic on foot. Well, that theory goes out the window when you do this. Of course, Tails doesn't get to give the shoe to Chaos. That would be too good for him. He stops a missile from blowing up Station Square. Go Tails! Chaos is going to wreck up that place worse than Nixon anyway, so why bother? As a cute little throwback though, Tails accompanies Sonic through a good number of his stages. While he's there, the second player's controller can be used to direct him, just like on the Mega Drive. Hey, Knuckles is back, everyone! This time he's still the guardian of Angel Island. However, the island seems to have been subject to some serious erosion because what once contained the Hydro City and Sandopolis zones can be travelled around in less than 10 seconds. It's literally just the Master Emerald Shrine now. Anyway, Knuckles is out looking for the shards of the Master Emerald that he was supposed to be defending. He has this sixth sense thing going on. You'll have to run around in circles while it blips until it goes red, then you'll know it's around you. This is where you begin your search with your eyes. Sometimes you'll have to dig though, so be aware of that. Quite how this emerald managed to get scattered throughout the entire game world is a mystery though, unless somebody already collected and redistributed the pieces. You'd think Knuckles could have just gathered the pieces around the Master Emerald's podium after it shattered, you know? These levels can get quite irritating as the emerald radar makes no compensation for obstacles, so it can be flashing red but the emerald could be at the other side of the wall. A freshly redesigned Amy Rose takes the field next. While she's slower than the boys, she still has her big hammer from Sonic the Fighters that helps her in various areas. She can use it to smack enemies, jump extra high, or swing it to smash all enemies in her vicinity. Be careful though, she can't spin attack. The main quirk with her levels is that she's being pursued by Nemesis Light. Zero is a robot that wants to claim Amy's new bird companion, because it holds a Chaos Emerald. Amy has the fewest levels out of all the characters, tied with Big, with a grand total of 3. The difference is that she's marginally interesting to play. There's wasted potential here, probably stemming from the 90s child declaring that nobody wants to play as an icky girl. Ew, cooties. Big the Cat isn't really what you'd expect when you think about Sonic the Hedgehog. He's fat, slow, and almost universally useless. What his levels essentially equate to is a Sega bass fishing demo. You can reel in all kinds of fish for points while you smack yourself in the head repeatedly with the controller. But really, all you need to do in order to complete his levels is find his best friend Froggy. Yes, his best friend's a frog, and yeah, every level he somehow manages to run away or get lost or kidnapped. Sure, there's springs and robots, but these are pretty pointless and negligible in the end as they can be largely ignored. Big is right, he's a big pile, and a disgrace to felines everywhere. I think Sonic Team were just trying to think of different, stupid ways to play at this point. Big is probably the most mundane of these.
It's kinda super duper shitty!
E102 Gamma is the final character. Gamma is an E-Series robot who is far less sociopathic than his descendant Omega, who replaces him in later games. Gamma decides to rebel against its creator when Amy causes a malfunction by actually respecting the barrel of bolts. It dedicates itself to destroying its robotic brethren, and ultimately itself for the sake of the animals trapped inside. Gamma is in fact a pink bird who joins the final battle alongside Amy. Gamma's levels are timed shooting stages which end when a target is eliminated. If you fail to destroy enough enemies at the same time for a bonus, you run out of time and die. They're alright really, though the targeting is rudimentary. All of these are accompanied by a pretty awful 3D camera. It seems to move in the opposite way to where you'd think it should go, as it snaps around behind your high-speed woodland animal. The camera is one of the things that really messes you up. Often you can find yourself careening to your death simply because the camera obscured a pit or an enemy from view. The DX version, however, adds another character to the mix. Metal Sonic is available for play in trial mode after the player collects 130 emblems. There's no story mode for this doppelganger, who is best described as an alternative outfit for Sonic, playable only in his stages, if you can bear the camera again, that is. There's not only an extra character and smoother graphics though. The DX edition also adds the unlocking of 12 Game Gear and Master System Sonic titles. While this does include the abysmal Sonic Labyrinth and the ridiculous Tales of Sky Patrol, I think we can let that slide for Triple Trouble or Sonic Chaos. Sure, they're simplistic as hell, but still decent. These are generally unlocked by the completion of the game's 60 new missions throughout the adventure fields and action stages, or by collecting emblems. If you get bored of that, you can spend some serious time raising Chow. From the original Sonic Adventure, this little option has been fleshed out significantly. You will notice that the Chow statistics have been lifted straight from Sonic Adventure 2, and so has the Black Market. With this, the concept of Dark and Hero Chow has also been carried across, despite the loss of the Dark and Hero theme when applied to Sonic Adventure. Though when something that cute puts something silly on its head, you can't really say anything to fault it. To raise the statistics of the little blighters, you have to feed them. The small animals from the action stages make interesting boosts, and alter the physical appearance of your Chow. There are no chaos drives in this game to just raise statistics without altering their appearance, however. Paradoxically, Gamma can feed the small animals to these creatures too, despite his take on their treatment throughout his story and status as one himself. This game screams to be played again. You can replay any of the levels for a better rank, something that is a good idea if you care to go for all the emblems. There are a lot of little diversions after the single player story is completed in the shape of the Twinkle Circuit and Chow that games just don't bother to do anymore. It's a great title that fills you with nostalgia, but it misses the mark. It reminds you of the faults that the games like this have. There's no doubt that Sonic Adventure's development was rushed, and some things were dodgy, but this does nothing to address them, merely adding extra buttons and a sheen to the character models. In the end, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is a better, complete edition to go for on the GameCube, but the PC version lacks an alternative, so this is your game. It isn't a bad game like Superman 64 or Bullet Witch, but it's really let down by a faulty camera, some temperamental acting, and a degree of random buggy oversights. It's also not different enough to the original to legitimize the DX label, really. The flaws of the original are all pointed over intact, and in certain cases made worse by the improved graphical sheen and smoothing that makes it more obvious. Maybe the directors should cut themselves. If you haven't played Sonic Adventure, however, then this is one to go for, no doubt.